I don't know if we've found anything usable just yet. What do you got?
This is trash.
This is dog.
This is absolute dog shit. I've already turned off. If the first 10 seconds need to catch the viewers.
How about those
listeners.
South Africans? Can we get the South African audience in? Can we bring them in? We're going to have to. They're not watching a lot of content this week.
Ches and Colby did well.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a few Ches and Colby highlights packages. Yeah, he did. He played very well. Best on park for them, I'd say.
I think so.
And him and Quagga Smith.
I like Quagga.
Yeah, is it
Quagga's still getting a bit of grief.
Why?
I think just because he's not a man mountain.
He is slippery and fast and he's got great decision making.
I think he's deceptively strong as well.
That try that he scored,
That's highlights that example of deceptively strong.
That was an amazing try. Like,
imagine if that was a match-winning try. Like it's being kind of forgotten because it was like a consolation try at the end. But that was a hell of a try.
It was an amazing try.
Pounces on some loose ball.
Had the tiniest of moments.
Yeah. Split second decision making. To get in there
before Finley Christie gets through a couple of defenders around the fringe. Just almost beats Will Jordan in a step for pace, and then barges over.
I think he barged through Will Jordan and two other guys. Yeah. Unbelievable.
He just wanted to get over that line. Yeah, it was pretty amazing. Would it be one of those ones where it's the New Zealanders switched off for a moment? The game had won, but it didn't really
I don't think
feel
they had time to switch off because it was just such a split-second thing.
It was lightning. That's why people came here, for some sweet Quagga Smith.
He's had a broken nose in the past, you can tell.
My God, it looks like it's like his forehead was broken. His nose was broken into his forehead. It's one of those guys you don't know where his forehead stops and his nose begins.
He's taken some impacts. Doesn't shy away from the contact.
Yeah, good on him. And he kind of looks like a guy from Star Trek. You know what I mean? Like from a foreign planet where they've got a deformed nose. Am I being too mean?
That's mean.
I'm sorry.
This is on your channel, so hit that dislike button, folks.
I like him as a player.
He's a great player.
Yeah.
Show Quagga Smith some love, people.
Yeah, everybody. Get him behind Quagga Smith.
So there was some rugby on at the weekend.
Yes.
There was a big build game between number 3 and number 4 in the world.
Yes.
The two unbeaten sides in this abridged rugby championship.
Yes.
What the commentator here in New Zealand, probably to irk the Northern Hemisphere fans, billed as like the best rivalry in rugby. You know how we watch the Six Nations and there was this is rugby's greatest championship? Well, I think it was Nisbo was like, this is rugby's greatest rivalry.
Well, to be fair, those two teams have 6 times as many World Cup wins as the entirety of the Six Nations, the greatest rugby championship. So, yep, you can bill it as the greatest rugby greatest rugby rivalry. I'm okay with that.
All Blacks and Springboks is a big rivalry.
100%. They're historically the two best teams in the world for a long period of time. Right now, yes, they're 3 and 4. One of them's definitely 4. One of them. I'm sorry. I did not make many South African friends, and I'm pissing off the whole Northern Hemisphere immediately.
You're just everybody's toes.
I'm throwing elbows, everybody. I'm coming out swinging. But yeah. Boy, oh boy, that was a sweet night, though, wasn't it?
That game started about as well as you can expect a game to start. Like when we were doing the stream, there were people saying, this is going to be 60 points.
I hate to admit it. I was sitting next to you, but I think I ejaculated 3 times in the first 5 minutes.
Is that why I'm all itchy now? What did you give me?
You need to go to see your doctor.
Yeah, I do.
Get a penicillin.
I think I need a dose of antibiotics. Unbelievable.
But no, just a furious start to the game.
Yeah.
That pace was just amazing. And I've got a number of thoughts about it, but the first thing I want to throw to you is, are we showing our hand too much right now? Let's go negative.
Okay. Bloody Fozzie.
Yeah.
Showing your hand too early, you dipshit.
Yeah, you should be losing by 15 points, not winning.
You need to lull everyone into a false sense of security.
That's what we've been doing over the past 3 years.
That's been the Foz plan.
Oh.
Not even New Zealand rugby knew it was going on.
He pulled it off, didn't he?
Yeah, he's just about to pull the rug out from everybody.
Yeah, he wants to do the whole win the World Cup, slam his dick down on the table and be like, beat that, Razor.
Mic drop.
Yeah, 100%. But are we showing too much of what we've got planned or what?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
You don't think so?
No.
What was the most impressive thing that you, out of the game in general or just the start?
I mean, just the All Blacks' ability to keep the ball moving and their hands.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds simple. Like, you're a professional rugby player. You should be able to catch and pass a ball quickly under pressure.
Yeah.
But how many times do you see it not happen? And later on in that same game, we saw things kind of get pretty scrappy.
Yeah.
But just everything they touched was turned into gold.
Yeah. It harkens back to how we got our name, the All Blacks, was the 1908 Invincibles tour or whatever. They went to the UK and everyone was like, well, we can beat these Antipodeans. And they came over and the headline was they played like all backs because they all could pass the ball,
right,
they could all
right.
catch. And that in its essence is still true to great All Black teams. Is like you give it to Moody, he's going to do a backflip pass like he did in the quarterfinal against the French. Like you give it to anybody, they're going to be able to handle the ball, make a pass, and play footy, not just do a roll, but play rugby. And that was what you could see out there. Like Brodie Retallick, just
unbelievable,
all over the place. Just
I was a little bit. Remember when he came back from Japan? I was kind of like, is Brodie, like, has he regressed a bit? Is he getting a bit over the hill? Has he missed out on the kind of higher level of rugby here in New Zealand? But then, nah.
High forwards have a bit more of a shelf life.
Yeah, I suppose so.
You know, they're not like wingers who have got 21 to 27, and then you lost half a yard of pace, and that's your bread and butter gone.
Yeah.
I think, what is he in his early 30s now?
I think so, yeah. But I looked at his stats, and he just genuinely did everything.
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing that makes him special. Like, most locks struggle to get much go-forward ball because they're such big humans.
Yeah.
They're pretty easy to bring down. You know, they're kind of like, props get about a metre per carry. Locks get about 2.
They have some stabilising positions.
That's right. Whereas you're expecting your loosies and your backs to really get you that ground. But Brodie Retallick's just like, nope.
Far out.
I'm going to run 37 metres.
Between him and Quagga Smith, the uglier you are, the better a rugby player you are. You know, aside from people like Dan Carter, who are just gorgeous.
I know. He's like a man chiseled out of marble, isn't he? I saw him at the zoo that time and I was just like drooling.
You got a Kalen Doris.
I did.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. That's not fair, is it?
It's not fair.
Bloody Dan Carter. How dare you?
Yeah, well, that's what we did last year. It's a quick tangent for our 2CGD for what was the Richard Kahui Award, speaking of beautiful men. Richard Kahui Award for I'm Not Gay, But Award. It went to, what's the Frenchman's name? There's always number 10s. That the Pretty Boys. We got a random group of women to vote on that for us.
That's right.
And the ones they all came back were number 10s.
That's right.
And you were like, where are my props at?
That's right. I was disgusted.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
You wanted Tad Furlong in there?
Oh,
or
absolutely.
He
loves his bud.
Ewan Teeny or whatever his name is. You'd be happy with
Antonio. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Get some prop love, folks. Prop love. If you got no props, you got no game.
You should start a porn channel called Prop Love. You know, just props going hard. Prop the tight. Oh, you could do all sorts of innuendos around the tight 5 and stuff like that. You know. I'm about to go down a path I really shouldn't go down.
So it was 35-20.
Yeah.
Which 15 points.
Am I smiling too much?
15 points.
Yeah.
That was pretty convincing. It could have been 20 if not for that Quagga Smith try at the end. You know, it could have been an even bigger win. It never really looked in doubt because we just came out of the box office. I mean, South Africa.
I don't know about that, man.
They came into it really well.
I had a puckered butthole for most of that second half.
They came back into it. They were still 1 score away from really a squeaky bum time.
Yeah. No, it didn't get to that.
Yeah, not quite. But it was looking possible. Yeah. But it didn't quite get to that point.
We were 8 points up there before Will Jordan scored, didn't he? Oh boy, I know I've been on this. Will Jordan.
You know, there's this. I mean, the South Africans split their squad, right? So one of the big talking points is that backfired big time because all these guys who didn't play were rusty as hell. But Cheslin Colby didn't play last week or the week before. He looked amazing. Will Jordan hadn't played. He looked amazing. Mark Nawani-Tawase hadn't played. He looked amazing. Brodie Retallick hadn't played. He looked amazing. So there were a bunch of guys who hadn't played.
Faf de Klerk didn't play, but he didn't look amazing.
Yeah, but maybe it was because the All Blacks guys were still in camp rather than being on Waiheke Island, drinking some wines and playing some golf.
Well, that was the thing that I thought was obviously the time and the travel, and these guys are professional athletes and all that sort of thing. But whether you're the most professional outfit on the world, or whether you're a fifth grade rugby team from anywhere in New Zealand, like time on tour and time with each other connects a team and makes you bond.
Yeah.
And the tighter you are bonded as a group as well, the more chances you get to sort of level with each other, understand each other. The better friendships I think you can have, and the tighter. I'm sure there's some very tight bonds in there, but just there's those moments of when you get any group of people to get together. There's that breaking the ice.
Sure.
There's that getting comfortable with each other, all that sort of thing, and it looked like a group of people that hadn't played that much rugby with each other for a while. Which if you want to win a test match in Auckland, you're probably going to want to have everything going for you.
That's right.
So I don't think splitting up a squad, especially in a World Cup year where you need to get as tight as you possibly can, and I think that was probably one of their greatest assets they had in the 2019 World Cup. They looked like the tightest squad. They looked like
Cohesion was through the roof, right?
Yeah. And I don't think you can just take that for granted. I think that's something you've actually got to, have team nights, have stupid, outing days and all that sort of stuff, and that really can help. Mo'unga Barrett. Okay, you look despondent as soon as I said that. I've got a take, but what's your take?
Because I've got, it's just a big egg on face, isn't it? I've been harping on about bloody Will Jordan at fullback for ages. And
Me too.
And Bodie for 2 weeks now has looked freaking good.
Really good.
And
really good. And
and this week,
and we're all about where's Sean Stevenson?
Yeah, where's Sean Stevenson? Because we want a proper attacking threat. We want a fullback to play fullback.
I feel sorry for him. He's obviously not going to be going.
No, he's not. But Bodie, because he wasn't even really playing like a traditional fullback's role, like he can do, but he didn't run it that much. He was more kicking and passing and just playing as a second 10. And it worked really well.
You know how you love it when I make league references, right?
Oh, yes, I love. Because they just go...
So, in league, they talk about the halves quite a lot. So
I know one of them's called dummy half.
No, not the dummy half.
Oh. What's dummy half?
So, dummy half is the person who picks up the ball
at the back, isn't it?
From the play of the ball.
Is that not a position?
No, that's the hooker does that. The hooker is the dummy half. There's not a position called dummy half.
Is there not a position called dummy half? He's a dummy half.
Anyone who's picking up the ball is the dummy half.
Oh, so
okay. And it's traditionally the number 9, and the number 9, by the way, is not the halfback. The number 9 is the hooker.
Oh, I did not know that.
Anyway, okay, so
far out league.
But in terms of like great league teams, they have a pair of halves. Okay, and the pair of halves are the halfback and the 5'8", basically. So
where's the hooker?
The hooker is the dummy half. So the hooker picks up.
The hooker's not the playmaker.
No. The hooker basically has to listen to one of the halves as to which way the action is, or which time they're actually. He makes a lot of decisions.
Does the hooker need to have a bullet pass on him?
No, not so much in terms of the league. Or they have to have a good pass.
Okay.
But in the league, because they're so much further back,
there's less pressure on them to have like an Aaron Smith bullet.
Yeah. A good pass is always going to be helpful. But it's the 5'8", the guys who make the try-winning plays, who direct the team around the field and do all that sort of thing. And it's basically the 6 and the 7. So that's the 5'8" and the halfback. Jeez, is anyone following?
So it's essentially like the 9 and 10 from Union, or the 10 and 12 from rugby?
No, it's like basically
2 10s.
2 10s.
Oh, okay.
And that is how the All Blacks are operating with 2 10s. So, and it's beautiful. Bodie's hanging back on defense, or for the kicks and all that sort of stuff. He's doing most of his core fundamentals at the back.
Yeah.
They're protecting him a little bit on defense, although he's not a terrible defender.
Yeah.
Like, I think he's a bit better than Mo'unga on defense. But in that attacking third, or even any position time he wants to attack, he's able to call the ball, change the position of the play. And for my money, he looks like the best attacking kicker in the world right now. His attacking kicks.
So Will Jordan? Goodness gracious me.
That first try, where he kicks it out to Will Jordan. Jordan skins Willie LaRue. It gets slightly taken down, but not secure.
He gets tackled by Willie LaRue.
And he picks it up again and zooms back in, and then gives it off to Aaron Smith, who scores. Just being able to, he's just got the best vision, being able to see the ball. And if Mo'unga, plays his role really, really well and directs the team around the park, and Bodie can do that brilliance of finding the space on the field. potent mix if they can get it right.
Yeah. Well,
know?
it's been right the last 2 weeks.
Has it?
Well, I mean, D-Mac was different from Mwonga, but still.
And D-Mac was great as well.
He was, yeah.
That's a hell of a guy to not get in the 23. But my thing was they looked brilliant for that first 20 minutes, but they didn't look that great for
the rest of the game.
I was impressed with the way that they came over the top at the end when the pressure was starting to rise. When you felt like, okay, the bomb squad's back on, like Peter Steph the Toit's out there, Malcolm Marx is out there, it's all happening. But the way they came back at the end, but there was a little quiet. We were sloppy for about 50, 60 minutes of that game.
That's true.
You know, and I thought for a moment there, I almost said it on our live stream. I was like, this has got Albany,
right?
Sort of 57-0 kind of feel to it at the moment.
Yeah.
But they took their foot. There was a couple of moments where we made silly mistakes. That Frizzell high tackle.
He made up for that with a turnover about.
I know, but it was still.
But it was the momentum shifter for sure. It was because South Africa had nothing up until that point. That at least put the door ajar a little bit.
Yeah. And that was, but I thought if we were able to capitalize, because they were still opening the door for us, they were still making mistakes, they still looked rattled, but we just got a little bit sloppy and lost a little bit of potency.
Yeah,
that we could have been more.
We lost the second half again, didn't we? Only by like 3 points or something.
Yeah. Did we?
It was a lot more even anyway.
But it felt like a ding dong old test match from that point
on.
Like this, if you're South Africa. There's not all is lost.
Oh, for sure.
No, there's still a massive threat there. They just got shell shocked.
No, I remember looking at the stats at halftime, and I was like, "Oh my god, Shannon Frizzell has broken 9 tackles in the first half. Guess how many he broke in the entire game?
9.
So like the second half was clearly
he obviously he earned his money. Like he was an incredible player, but he was doing his roles for the rest of the game.
That's right.
Like, just that ability to start. And this is what gets me about fucking South Africa is why are they leaving some of the best players in the world on the bench? I know they're in love with this bomb squad thing and all that sort of jazz, but Bongi Mbambi is a great
It was strange that they started him.
Why is
because he was on the plane as well. Why wouldn't you start Marx when Marx was one of the guys here early?
Peter Steph the Toit. Why is he...
Well, he played last week, so I get leaving him on the bench and starting...
Snyder looked really good when he came on. Like, start your best team, you know, like, and if you've got players that you think can do a really good job for you, like, then they're going to be fine to come on. But this, I don't know. Like, I know they're in love with this idea of the bomb squad and all that sort of jazz, which doesn't make sense to me because none of them actually take high balls. But they... remember that one game where Malcolm Marx started, which I haven't seen him start since then. He may have, but I haven't seen him.
He won us like 5 turnovers in the first half or something stupid.
Yeah, first 20, he was just unplayable.
It was a reverse of what we just saw.
It was the game before Alice Park.
Yes,
and then for some stupid reason, they went to Dweeba the next week.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. If you're South African, if you're a South African fan, I would be just tearing my hair out going, what are you doing, Ninaba and Rassi? Like, I know they're very intelligent men and obviously have a far greater rugby brain than I do, but sometimes you can have paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, that one just didn't make sense because pretty much all the other guys who travelled early got a start. Colby got a start, Mostert got a start, Faf de Klerk got a start, you know? These guys travelled early, so give them a start. But Marx, I mean, they also didn't pick Jesse Kriel and they didn't pick, Jean-Luc Dupria, but apart from that, I think most of the guys who travelled early started, so... Weird to keep Marx on the bench for that one, but
yeah, very odd. He's my favourite hooker in the world right
now. He scored a try from a maul.
Yeah,
that's the second week in a row that the All Blacks have conceded a try from a maul. Because
is it really?
Crevy got one the week before. I mean, their maul went close. He peeled off and still got it. So
all right, because I heard a stat saying that was the first try Jason Ryan.
I mean, if you
had taken.
Maybe if they're saying that because the Argentinian maul didn't go over in one motion, but I mean, he peeled off a maul to score a try. For me, that's a maul try.
Well, if it's for you, it's for a maul try, but apparently that's not what it goes down.
I'm putting it down as a maul try.
Is there a stat for that?
I keep stats on maul tries, but that's just on my little spreadsheet. And maul tries conceded. So, yeah, we've conceded 2 from mauls in 2 weeks, which is unusual because, you're right. Prior to that, we've been pretty rock solid.
Yeah, well, I don't mind. Like, they're a hell of a pack. They are a hell of a pack. And that was when the replacements had come back and come on.
Yeah.
I thought speaking of hell of packs, heck of a pack, the All Blacks. All we want when we play South Africa is parity. All we want is parity, because if we get parity, then we can play with the ball.
That's right.
And we back our skills and back our
I
ability.
used to remember being really annoyed about that back in the days, like when our line out would not be able to get parity against South Africans. Like, you'd be like, all right, we won a penalty, we're going to get up the field, and you'd be like, why can't we win our line out ball?
I'm going to say something that may be considered sacrilege, but I think we were on top. You know, and I think we were definitely on top for the forward, for the
First 20.
Not for the first 20, for the contact area.
Right.
You know, for the breakdown, I thought we were hungrier, we showed more desire, and that enabled us to have that quick ball. But just for those traditional set piece, the scrum and the line out, like,
I think penalties went both ways, but just to see Ethan de Groot win a scrum penalty against Frans Malherbe, you're like, oh my God.
that's pretty nice. De Groot, he's quality.
He's had a meteoric rise from 18 months ago.
Yeah,
So-
and speaking of people of the size of meteors, Tamati Williams.
Oh, what a big unit.
One of the things we look at Antonio Utini, whatever his name is, and we go, oh wow, wouldn't it be great to have someone like that? We got one.
We got one. We got
a big one.
There was a photo of him
There's a
standing
teepee right there.
There was a photo of Tamaiti Williams standing next to somebody else.
He's a giant.
And like, I forget who it was. Maybe it
looks
was
like
Sam Kane, and it looked like whoever it was he was standing against was just like a little kid. And it was
But he looks like a giant baby, doesn't he? Like,
he's got a real baby face. He can't
does.
quite grow a proper mustache, and yet he's still growing it. And then he's just 140 kilos. Yeah.
That's monstrous. South Africa. Where are they at right now? What's your opinion on what went well for them or what didn't go so well? Obviously, they're behind on the scoreboard.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least they were able to come back into the game and shift some of that momentum. And then, like, Cheers and Colby was just playing like a man possessed.
Yep.
Mapimpi was sadly looking a bit like not one of the best
According to
three.
Grant Nisbet, he was everywhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, Grant. So
We weren't really listening to the commentary,
No, we
so I don't
couldn't.
think we were really picking up on
No,
it. But
we weren't.
multiple people have said Nisbo would be like, Mapimpi. Like, oh, no, it's not.
Anytime it wasn't a white guy, he'd say, I'm a pimpy into it again.
I do feel like the New Zealand commentary team can be guilty of not watching a lot of non-New Zealand rugby.
Yeah. Oh, and I also think that I like Nisbo, but I feel like I'm kind of apologizing for an old uncle who...
Right.
I'm like,
He's just,
a bit older.
yeah.
But they're all... I don't know.
But yeah, Mapimpi, despite the fact that he was everywhere, according to Nisbo, I don't think he looked like one of South Africa's best three wingers at the moment.
Can we go...
Sadly, because he's been a great servant for that Springboks team.
Is it too much of a like for like, but if we go Arendse and Colby?
I want to see it. I don't care if it's like for like. I just want to see it. I want that.
Clone Wars.
Yeah, can you imagine you're the opposition? Like, right, you don't have to mark Colby this week, but you've got Arendse.
Yeah.
That'd just be great. Like, especially if you got like a guy like Caleb Clark, who's just like, if I've got the ball, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
But if I don't have the ball, that's going to be trouble.
But are they susceptible... Well, saying that, he almost scored a try against Bodie Barrett.
In the air.
Yeah.
That was a 50-50 call.
That was a 50.
I didn't mind it.
Yeah.
I've literally seen, if you go on any bloody social media, Twitter, Reddit, my YouTube comments, it's like one comment will be, that was absolutely grounded. How you didn't see that, I have no idea. And the next comment will be, yeah, TMO got that 100% down. Like,
well, you and I, when we watched it, I think you and I were... you said try.
I said like a very like a non-committal. Yep, I'll maybe give it.
Maybe, and I said I don't know. I don't think so. And then we both said
whichever way it goes.
Well, it's 50-50, so you can't be angry about this. And then it went our way, and we were like, but
yeah, well, could have gone either way. Could have gone anywhere.
Yeah.
Those sometimes those just happen.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes.
Also, can I resolve a beef that I've been having with one Rian Lowe?
Oh, yes. Rian has a YouTube channel, which is fantastic. He makes
brilliant.
great content.
He's your favorite YouTuber's favorite YouTuber.
Yeah, he is.
But
he is
he has
genuinely very good. But he started a wee little bit of the poking of old Tony here.
I'm bathing in your anguish. I absolutely adore it. Your heartbreak fills my heart with joy. You have filled my love tank. You have turned me into a better person by watching your South Africans lose. Thank you, Rian, for this enormous gift that you've given me. much love from me to you, my friend.
You can have a wine now. He calls you a wine drinker.
He's a legend. Go check out his channel.
He's great.
Look, there he is. Now I'm going to have to watch this before I put it. What's the what do you reckon is the time code-ish? Anyway, I can't see.
So that was the game. Anything else about All Blacks South Africa?
Mount Smart, what do you think?
Great
It
atmosphere.
turned you into a leaguey. Nice to see a lot of South Africans there, wasn't it?
Yeah, interestingly, my wife's boss ended up going to the game. He got tickets from Adidas, apparently. She was not offered them because she's not in management. Only management would get tickets. And apparently his comment in the office today was, geez, there was a lot of South Africans there.
Yeah. It seemed like there was a lot on screen.
Yeah.
And they were all there really early.
Right.
Like, they were like having braais in the car
No
park
way.
and shit, apparently.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There are quite a few South Africans here.
And then the Wars got to win there 24 hours later.
Go the Warriors.
55,000 visitors there over the weekend. Not a single pitch invader. And 2 great victories. We put 44 points on the Sharks, and the Sharks are a top 4 team. They were a top 4 team.
There you go.
Up the Wars.
Rugby league.
Yeah, mate. I feel like there is more I want to say, but I don't know.
Will Jordan, very good. Shannon Frizzell, very good. You like Bodie at fullback. Moonga at 10.
Pack was very good.
Malcolm Marks came on, had impact. Kwaka was great.
Scott Barrett looks really, really good. And weird position to be in that I almost feel like we haven't been in for over a decade, where Sam Whitelock is not an automatic pick, almost.
It's awkward. Like, it's a good problem for them to have, but you got to leave somebody out of the starting lineup. So unless you want to put Scott Barrett at 6, please don't put Scott Barrett at 6.
I think
Shannon Frizzell's probably paid to that argument. So
Yeah. Do we have a...
Sam Cane took a wee knock. Apparently they said the removal of him for the second half was precautionary because he had just taken a wee stinger. So Fozzie made the call.
I want to see a little bit more out of Dalton Papali'i. I think
it's weird because Sam Cane in his 80 minutes against, whatever it was, I don't know if it was a full 80 in the first game. Can't remember if it was a full 80. But in that game, he was very visible. Yeah. And then in the first half against South Africa, he was very visible. And then Dalton, not so much.
Not so much, yeah. I just don't think, I've seen him play better games. I'd like to see him do more in the black jersey, basically. Because and players who aren't going to get a shot. We talked about this guy, the bolter that they put in. He doesn't look like he's getting a look.
Cam Roigard?
No, not Cam. I want to see him play. Bloody hell. McLeod, is it McLeod?
Oh, Dallas McLeod. Yeah, he doesn't seem to be getting. They've got one more game. They got 2 really, because we got Rugby Championship away in Australia, and then we got a Bledisloe back home here. I think if we win in Australia, they will play, because we got one game outside the Rugby Championship against the Aussies. Bledisloe 2.
I thought we had just one game against the Aussies.
In Rugby Championship, yes, and then we got one game outside the Rugby Championship against the Aussies.
Oh, do we?
Bledisloe 2.
Really?
I think it's in Dunedin.
I thought we had a game against South Africa.
We do.
So we got 3 tests.
Yeah, I think the Pumas and Boks are still playing one more game outside the Rugby Championship as well.
Right.
It wouldn't balance if they'd had that game included as Rugby Championship. Because then South Africans would get the Pumas twice, we'd get Aussie twice, and then South Africa only once. So
yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But I think if we win in Australia in a fortnight, then
we've got it.
Second Bledisloe at home, they probably ring all the changes. You probably see maybe your Dallas McLeod and your Cam Roigard, and maybe from the bench anyway.
Not likely Sean Stevenson, because still so frustrating, because he was the player of the tournament and player of the tournament for Super Rugby, but just
can't get a look in.
Can't get a seat at the table.
Speaking of the Aussies, they played. Eddie Jones is saying the All Blacks had better look out in a fortnight.
Yep.
But they lost their second game in 2 weeks at home to the Pumas. That was a good game.
He's like the Black Knight from...
But a flesh wound.
Right. Yes. I'm glad you got that reference. Congratulations.
It's an ancient movie at this point, so if it's ancient, I'll get it.
Yeah.
I was listening to ZM in the car on the way here. Every now and again, I tune into ZM just to be like, what are the popular songs nowadays?
What are the kids listening to?
And I'm like, it's always like the same. I want to say 50 songs. They probably play about, like each host plays a very limited number of songs.
Yeah, right.
They don't. But I did hear a new song. Well, I don't know if it was new, but it was a song I had not heard on.
My
ZM
problem
on the
with
way
pop
here.
music at the moment, in general, is it doesn't feel like there is still much of an evolution from when my era was listening to pop music. Like it was
It's
just.
moved a bit away from like the Backstreet Boys and stuff.
I
hasn't
guess
it?
so, but that probably will come back around. But it's just dance beats with like a little bit of a hip hop feel with some.
I like Olivia Rodrigo. She's a bit different.
I don't know who that is, to be
There you go.
fair.
You're an old man. There you go.
Yeah, I don't
finally
listen.
got a young
I
man's
listen.
reference.
I listen to punk rock. That's where I'm kind of at. Punk rock, strange metal, and everything else.
31-34. Multiple lead changes, but the Pumas love that stadium. They beat us there. They drew with the Aussies there. Now they've beaten the Aussies there.
Home of Paramatta Eels, that place.
A lot of Argentinian. Well, I don't know if there was a lot, but there was a loud contingent of Argentinian
Man, they create some
fans.
atmosphere, eh?
Absolutely.
You know what I love about the Argentinians? If
Their beef.
yeah, I do like some Argentinian beef, but their ability to be light on their feet, be really great footwork, but also keep the ball alive and like offload in the tackle, like. They ask so many questions. They ask so many questions of the defense with the way they move the ball and with the way they attack the line. Like, they take the ball right to the line and do their passing. Like, they're a threatening team when they have it together. But the big difference between this week and last week was they were so far behind the advantage line. They had so little front football. They were getting dominated up front. Their pack did not get any good ball for their backs to play with. But when they can, they look classy. They look very classy. And there is no... I know that there's a lot of Aussie fans going, let's bring back Dave Rennie. What have we done? There's no shame in losing to Argentina anymore.
We've all done it. We've all done it
all
in
been
recent times.
Yeah, they're fucking good.
Yeah. I mean, this is only Eddie's second match. And I feel like there's kind of two...
Oh,
Whoa, what have you done?
I've over-frothed.
Too much watching Will Jordan. I feel like there's two... Like, Eddie's a real divisive figure. There are people who think that Eddie all but had England winning a World Cup if only they'd kept them on, because he had his plan which was going to come to fruition at World Cup time. And there are people who say this guy is the charlatan of all charlatans.
There's a bit of romanticism around him.
He just talks his way, into roles. But I don't know. What do you reckon? Has he got the goods to get the Aussies right?
Nah.
Okay, then. And then the Black Ferns also played.
No, look, he's done some incredible things in his career, but he's
His
also
initial run with England was fantastic because of that game at Brighton.
one game in Japan was fantastic, but he got fired originally as the Wallabies coach. Then he went to the Reds and had one of the worst Super Rugby seasons any coach has ever had.
Helped South Africa win a World Cup though as an assistant.
Yeah. Obviously, he knows the
His
game.
record
he
with
knows the
Japan
code.
got progressively better.
He's rocks and diamonds, really. When he's shit, he's dog shit. I love him as a character. I think he's really good for the game in terms of engagement. I do think that he has the ability to do special things with teams if they get in on the Eddie.
The buy-in, right?
Yeah, on the Eddie bus. But
that's not you. It's not you.
take it away from the Ottoman.
Is that called an Ottoman?
That is called an Ottoman.
Really? Like after the Empire or what?
Yeah. No, it's Otto van Bismarck. They changed it to Ottomans were around before that. We didn't talk about the beer today. Slightly different beer.
Smashable Behemoth.
Yeah, there you go. Show them the label.
It's got like a
We
monster
really need
on
a
it.
beer sponsor. If anyone runs a beer company and wants,
We'll drink your beer.
we'll drink your beer if it's free, 100%.
We don't even need money. Just give us the beer.
If we got free beer, we'd drink it and we'd literally spend a minute and a half talking about it every week.
We would.
That's a good little ad. What was I saying? I'm still excited about him being at the helm, and I actually thought that both teams played better than they did the week before.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It was a really good game.
Oh shit! I'm spilling fucking beer
Holy
everywhere.
shit! Were you
It's
born
because
this?
it frothed
Were you
everywhere.
born this way?
Yeah.
You've been working on it. The way you're pouring perilous. It's a perilous pour.
Well, it looks all right in the end, apart from the bit that ended up on the floor.
Well done.
I actually meant to continue your point because you mentioned how the Argentinians...
Did I make a good one?
The Argentinians, how the way that they, under Ledesma, they were kind of playing quite dull rugby.
Yeah, not
a
good for
lot.
them.
I mean, I know they beat the All Blacks with it. It was either our defense holds and we kick the shit out of the ball, or we go behind and we are fucked, basically. Because when their defense, remember that they beat, they beat us that first time in Australia, and then the next week we absolutely flogged them because they couldn't maintain that level of defense. Whereas under Checker, they are looking more ambitious, which makes sense because when he first got to the Waratahs, I think that first year, he was just like, don't fucking kick the ball.
Yeah, right.
You're not allowed to kick the ball. The year before the Waratahs won Super Rugby, he was like, you're not allowed, even if we're you're not allowed to kick the ball. No kicking. Like, he wanted them to build that confidence to actually play with ball in hand. And then next year they won it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were so far off the pace that year before.
He got appointed, I think, at the same time JK got appointed.
Yeah,
and they were both kind of shit in that first year. And then Checker was like, meow, and JK was just like, uh-oh.
JK pooped the bed.
Yes.
Imagine if JK was still out there being a high-fluting coach.
Stay in the punditry, JK.
He was good at the inspirational speeches, old JK. But yeah.
He's good with the old talking about depression and whatnot.
Yeah. Very nice.
Just not a very good rugby coach.
But Argentina used to be that kind of team that would try and play basically like South African style, but not as well, and basically pick up the odd win when the opposition were having an off day. Whereas they're now a team that can beat an Australian team highly motivated to win at home.
It was a bit annoying under the Ledesma because they had so many game breakers, and yet you wouldn't see them being used at all. You'd be like, these wingers aren't getting runs. Like, I'd seen them playing for the Warriors before that team went under.
Be like having Mapimpi and Colby.
And you're just like, yeah, I suppose so. Before they got used. But yeah. So, no, it was really pleasing to see them play some really fun rugby.
Yeah. No, yeah, and they are an entertaining, fun team to watch. And I think the Australians played really well, but I think the best team won that day.
They dominated possession. Eddie's boys were
They really did.
Scraps, really.
And they were 10 points up with like 7 minutes to go. But Mark Wanitawasi.
That was a 14-pointer, that one. They were almost stuffed, and then he grabbed an intercept.
Can I just point out that I've been practicing my Mark Wanitawasi?
I think you're missing a syllable or two there.
Oh, shit.
I think it's
Mark Wanitawasi.
Yes, there you go.
Yes. And
they call him Marky Mark because they're just like, I can't be fucked saying this guy's name.
Mark Wanitawasi's in the clear. Mark Wanitawasi.
Yes.
Wanitawasi.
There you go.
It's a hard one.
He's a good player.
He's really good.
The switch between him and Vunivalu the week before was like night and day. Worst player on the pitch in the 14 jersey to best player on the pitch in the 14 jersey.
100%. And he's got a World Cup start.
I think so.
Yeah. And he's one of those guys that, and this is one thing I'm a little bit envious of with the Australians, is they're able to find players that, he looks all right at Super Rugby, but he's showing a bit of promise, but let's just see what he can do. And this is what happens with the Kiwis sometimes. This is what happens in State of Origin sometimes when they're kind of forced into selections just because the depth of the talent pool isn't quite there, or injuries happen, all that sort of stuff. They throw a bloke in, and under the big lights, he just comes alive. Yeah. And Mark Wanitawasi was that way at the end of the year tournament. We were like, who the hell is this guy?
I remember they picked him for the Wallabies squad, and I was like, what?
Yeah, and he was like...
He can't tackle!
But he was skinning Pinot, and like, he was just
but he was just like at Waratah's level, like, nah, man. Like, he's all right. And then Dave Rennie was like, well, he's been training well. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, Dave. He's not good enough, Dave. If I can see that, you should be able to see that. Well, apparently, Dave Rennie knew more about rugby than me.
But we can't do that in the All Blacks. You can be like Sean Stevenson, the best player in the tournament. He is making the Australian team right now.
Right.
Definitely. I almost feel like they should have him. Like, I want him to play like some international
rugby somewhere,
at the highest level, really.
Yeah.
But if you're a Redcliffe Dolphins fan, you're licking your lips at the moment. That's for certain. But yeah, boy, oh boy, every that first try where he took the quick tap, that was off his back. Like
Cooper with the wide pass,
and there was another try that he set up, and then
although Ikitau got injured with his shoulder, 8 weeks out.
Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that looked bad. Was it more than a dislocation?
Yeah, they said it was, what is it, like patella or something? Anyway, it's 8 weeks. So,
Yeah.
like, Ikitau's a great player. He still went in and scored that try, but that's a big, big hole to fill for the box for the Wallabies. So, like, you can play Foketi, you can play Parise, but you don't really have that. Like, Ikitau's been a lock, so.
He's a world-class player.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's bad.
So.
I thought the forwards played better this week, the Australian forwards, for the most part. I think Will Skelton was starting to have a few more touches. So weird when you look at... I was looking at a few mauls when he was involved, and he would be in the maul, he'd be driving along, and then he would leave, and the size of the maul would go down by 2/3. He's just such a massive,
he's a big human.
Massive body. But a wildly entertaining game.
Oh, yeah,
it really
for sure.
was great to see. You can talk about him for days. Eddie Jones like smashing his freaking headphones, and losing his shit completely.
That try from Juan Martin Gonzalez at the end of the game, like that was brutal for the Aussies. But they gave away the dumbest penalty.
What was it?
To set up that field position? So there was a bit of handbags, and Rob Valtini just came in and gave someone a shove. And the ref was like, "Is that worse than the initial action?" And the Timo's like, "Yep, it's worse." Like and Alan Alatoa, when he asked at one point, like, "So you're going to penalise us for retaliating?" Like, no shit, Sherlock, man. Like that's what happens. I mean, I
do remember watching that now and being like, "Oh, that's a stinger."
I said it in the match review as well, and it's like, the best thing you can do at the moment, and I freaking don't condone it, but if you've had something illegal done to you, you need to just make a meal of it. You need to go roll around on the ground, and then the TMO is at least going to be like, "Oh, we better have a look at that," and then they will find it.
And even if it's just the lightest of light,
like the high shot on Matera, I think it was by Quade Cooper. It was like Matera was like, "Oh, my face! I've lost my head," but it was the.
We're gonna see that big time of the World Cup because it's the highest stakes footy.
Yeah.
But
it sucks that that's the way to get it done. But if you want the attention to be highlighted on some illegal action against you, that's the way to get it done. Retaliating, is not right.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I know traditionally that's what you would have done. If there's shit going on, you need to get involved. But that hasn't been the game for a long time.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, but it is the way it is. And there wasn't really much in that village, but technically that's the laws. So but I thought it was justice. I thought the Argentinians were the better team of the day. Sure. They deserved to win that. Bit of a stinker of a start to the Eddie Jones era, but I don't think they need to throw the baby out with the bathwater at this stage.
2 games, man.
And them leading into. There's a few things that I want to say, not about this game in particular, but. I wanted to talk to you just what I can see as one of the biggest problems with the Springboks right at this moment.
Okay.
I forgot to mention. Sorry, I'm rewinding a little. At number 10.
Oh, yeah.
There's no...
Willems wasn't a great choice at 10.
There's no world class there at the moment. Andre Pollard,
If Pollard's not there, you need to play Libbok. It's just that simple.
But Marnie Libbok is
he's good. He's good enough.
He's green, but he's not... He's
not tests.
He's not world class, like,
He can get there if they give him the chance.
Yeah, but that's if.
It'd be like us. He's like D-Mac.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't really be like, yeah, D-Mac is ready to lead the team in a World Cup, but he's got the skills.
When I've seen Marnie Libbok play, I've been like, he's a little erratic.
He's erratic. He can set the world on fire, or he can have a bit of a stinker. He's just not consistent enough, but I think he can get there.
Yeah.
He's got the ability, but yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to mention was, I'm sure I've pissed off some South Africans in this podcast already, and I was pissing off South Africans during our live stream. I was.
You got a knack for that.
But all I am is just a fan. It's just a fan. And I understand when somebody's celebrating, and being joyously happy about the loss of your team.
That sucks to watch.
It's so irritating to watch. You just want to punch that person in the face.
Yep.
I am not with you. You can't punch me in the face. You could try to resist, but so I understand where it's coming from. But it's just rugby fans being rugby fans. Although one thing that I was a little bit concerned about was in our stream there was a bunch of people going fucking ref yada yada yada, a couple of people, but then there were a lot of people in that stream and also online that I was going, look, no, these calls aren't bad.
Yeah.
Like there was actually I heard a lot of South Africans being like, you know, we were the ones to blame for that. We were outclassed in that game. Rather,
Did you see Rusty Erasmus's tweet?
Yeah, with the old
baiting,
baiting thing from
South
Rugby.
South African Rugby magazine puts out a tweet after every game.
Yeah.
To say, how did you rate the ref? It's not only when they lose. Sometimes people take that a bit out of context.
But it gets prominence in our feeds when they've lost because there's more comments on it. There's more interaction with it.
That's right.
And then Twitter's like, oh, this is getting engagement.
Yeah, but Rusty commented on that, like, how did you rate the ref? And he just basically said, well, he did better than we did. Yeah. So, yeah, that's
which is
a classy response.
And progress for us. You know?
No, that was good.
It was. Anyway, I was thinking about those points when we were talking about Argentina. I just wanted to say them, you know.
Okay.
But what do they do in their 10 spot? How are they going to win a World Cup?
Like I said, if Pollard is not there, you need to play Livok. Willemse is your, like...
He got skinned a couple of times.
Yeah, now Willemse is like, he's been great at 12. He can play 15. 10 is like his third best position. He should not be going into a test match at 10, I think.
Do you think wasn't this meant to be their A squad?
Yeah, supposedly.
Yeah, strange. Some strange decisions across the board. Anyway, anything else you want
the
to say?
Aussies,
Australia
with Ikitau going off as early as he did, their back line was pretty disjointed. They played 6-2, so they only had Carter Gordon, who's a 10, and Tate McDermott, who's a 9 on the bench. And when your 13 goes down, you end up playing Carter Gordon, who's in his second test match for like 75 minutes out of position.
I thought he looked good.
He looked all right.
Yeah.
Dropped a couple of balls, but mostly he looked still pretty sharp.
I would put him at old Quady.
Quade was all right.
He was all right, but I think
Need to pull the trigger?
Yeah. I think they need to throw us something a little bit different. And he looks like a really, really quality player. But then, you know, similar to what you were saying about Mani Libok, well, what we were saying is untested, you know.
Is it? Maybe after the World Cup cycle, that's when Carter Gordon gets the 10 jersey as his own.
Maybe.
Quade will probably retire.
Yeah, well, he hasn't got another World Cup in him.
I don't think so.
Man, I didn't think he had another World Cup in
this time. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I thought after 2011, he had so much psychological damage after the semi-final.
But yeah, so New Zealand top of the log. We've got the Wallabies in a fortnight over in the MCG.
Yeah.
And then the Boks are home to the Pumas. They are in second. So it's the All Blacks to lose, essentially.
So we're sorry, you just mentioned it, but I'm going to ask you again. Where are the Boks playing?
At home. I forget which ground.
It's almost like I don't mind that for Argentina. They seem to get up away from home quite a bit. That'll be interesting. And we've got the Aussies in... Where are we playing there?
MCG.
Oh, it's a horrible place to watch rugby.
It's the Women's Football World Cup, which has got all the stadiums here and there all booked up.
Holy smokes. You been to the MCG?
I have. Once. To watch AFL. I watched Essendon take on, I think it was Geelong.
I watched Essendon take on Fremantle.
Who won?
Essendon, but everyone around me was like, this is the worst game of footy I've ever seen. Okay. And then I was watching the AFL footy show later that night, and they had a guy who was one of the pundits, but he was called the special comments guy, and the thing he was like, I was there to make special comments. I couldn't say anything because nothing special happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brutal.
But I was just like, whoa, this is amazing. Like,
the atmosphere would have been great. It's a big stadium.
Huge.
Very big.
There was 40,000 people there, and it felt kind of empty-ish.
Right. It's a problem with big stadiums. MCG seats a lot of people.
Yeah, lots. Yeah. Jonny Sexton.
Jonny Sexton got himself into a bit of hot water.
What a naughty boy.
That decision took them so long to make about his ban.
Yeah, well they went into their deliberation and then for a whole day or something, and then it was 4 or 5 days later they actually gave the verdict.
Can I be cynical for a second?
You can be.
If that's a player from
Georgia,
Fiji.
Yeah, he's gone for the World Cup.
And the decision doesn't take 5 freaking days or whatever it took.
within the week.
It's probably same day verdict. Like it's like McDonald's. Like it's bam. This is just by the numbers.
I saw this thing. I don't know who put it out there, and it had Sia Khaleesi in a suit at Mount Smart or something like that. And they said, imagine if Sia Khaleesi went down onto the field and called Raynell a fucking disgrace. What would?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like.
Yeah.
You know, what would the ban be?
You can't even picture it because you know Khaleesi wouldn't do that. He's classy.
Yeah, well, then Sexton apparently.
Sorry,
not.
Johnny, but you let your emotions get the better of you sometimes.
We know you're a big fan.
He
Johnny.
lives on the edge.
He's a mouthy C word.
But they banned him for 3 games, which are going to cover the Rugby World Cup warm-up games, which, with him recovering from injury...
Give me your wrist. Give me your wrist.
He wouldn't have played anyway. Oh, there, punishment.
Yeah. That was, by the way, for those listening... Oh, where are they listening?
Spotify.
iHeart Podcast. iHeart Radio.
Google Podcasts.
Stitcher. And wherever else you get your podcast. If those people listening, I just...
He just gave me a wee tap on the wrist.
Yeah.
He didn't have a wet bus ticket because they don't do bus tickets anymore.
No, you have to flash your card, don't you?
No cash is allowed on the bus in New Zealand anymore.
Really? You're not allowed to... don't have that little tray there anymore?
You've not taken public transport for a long time.
When was the last time I took
Auckland
a bus?
Transport was looking to get rid of the cash thing for a long time, but I think they kept it for all the oldies who didn't want to get cards. But then with COVID, they were like, COVID spreads via cash.
Oh, right.
So that was their excuse, and they've never brought the cash back.
The old ladies would hate that. When was the last time I caught a bus? This is thrilling content for everybody. Tony's trying to remember when the last time he caught a bus was. I feel like it was within the last 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. Don't know what it was for.
But you took a bus. Do you have an AT hop card?
No. Do you?
Of course I do. Goodness gracious.
Where are you
me.
catching buses?
I don't catch them very often anymore because I walk my kids to school.
If you have to get to town, would you catch a bus?
I would probably drive. I went to the All Blacks
Have
experience
you-
in town the other day and I drove.
If you had
And
to
it was
get-
free parking because it was a public holiday. Winner. I love
If
it.
you had to go to town and you know you're going to have a few drinks, would you...
I'll take the train.
You'd take the train?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bus to the train station and then take the train.
Yeah, well, that's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been a long time since I got the train.
Tony's balling people.
Oh, yeah.
Chaperone, chauffeurs.
I've got canvas money.
Campus money. Exactly
Canvas
right.
money. Yeah. All right, mate. Well, yeah, okay. Johnny Sexton got a
Sexton gets a
slap on the
bad
wrist.
ban.
I do think it was... I really would be super disappointed if he wasn't at the World Cup.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Ireland are my second favourite team.
Yeah,
He's
it wouldn't be-
so crucial to their success.
Yeah. So in that regard...
I'm happy about it.
In that regard, I'm
not-
happy because I want the best rugby players out on the field, but I also don't want guys being knobheads like that.
Yeah, and it does feel a little gross, the fact that that's the standard, by the way. So if you've set a standard now, so if, that Georgian player goes out or any player goes out, or if a first 15 rugby player goes out and calls the ref a fucking disgrace, a 3-match ban that was set at the top for one of the best players in the world, I think it would have been a really bold call to ban him for further or ban him
I
for the
think they
entirety.
were never going to have the cojones to do that.
My principles say that he should have been gone, but my interest in Irish rugby and also my interest in watching the best players in the world play
Balances that out.
is happy about
Yeah.
it. But it's just a bit shit.
Yeah.
So, I wish he didn't do it. Like,
Yeah, don't do
it
that.
was just so dumb as
Yeah.
well. Why would you put yourself at risk like that? Like, you're going to go up to the referee after the game in an aggressive, they say he came up in an aggressive confrontational way and told him he was a fucking disgrace. That's just not on. Be a professional, man.
Yeah, it's not a great look.
Yeah, and like he's...
You can't, like you mentioned,
He's
Khaleesi.
a veteran.
You can't imagine McCaw doing that.
No.
Like any of the great captains, I can't
I
really...
can't imagine any other player doing it, really. Like, it's... I don't know. But just...
Maybe Dylan Hartley.
Maybe. Yeah.
Anyway.
Dylan Hartley, Zinzan Brook, maybe.
Maybe.
Maybe. Who else was a sort of
There's been a few fiery customers over the years.
Richard Lowe?
Richard Lowe would probably just grab the ref by the testicles.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, there was other rugby on, apart
Yes.
from the Rugby Championship games. The Black Ferns had a bit of a scare against the USA. I think they were predicted to beat the USA. Don't quote me, but I think it was by like 40 points. And they were down 17-5 at halftime. So it would have been like one of the upsets of rugby history for the
What
USA.
I heard was that the week before the Australians bet the US by 50 points, and we bet the Australians by 50 points.
So we were supposed to give the USA a hiding. We did get an early red card.
Yeah.
But it ends up being 39-17. The Black Ferns score 34 unanswered points in the second
And
half.
I had no idea when it was on or when it was happening, and my apologies.
Been largely overshadowed. But it was a good win under a bit of pressure.
Yeah.
So the All Blacks. Black Ferns go 3 from 3 in their Pacific Fours. Canadians finish second, having beaten the Australians 45-7.
How do we- Is it our fault, or is it the fault of World Rugby or the media? The fact that talking about this right now is just hard to muster up any sort of excitement about it. Like the Black Ferns playing the USA. Like
The fact that it clashes with the men's rugby in terms of the day it's played does not help.
No. But there's not, like, the Silver Ferns, the New Zealand women's netball team, gets way more hype on it, just a random. Like, to be fair, the Black Ferns did captivate the nation a little bit during the Rugby World Cup last year.
But there was no men's rugby on at the same time to clash with it, right?
Don't think so. Yeah, there was no, it wasn't like the All Blacks were playing at the same time. Do you reckon that was
like All Blacks?
because remember, because we were like, that will be our content for a while.
Yeah, we were hyped for it.
Yeah.
Because that was the
But sadly, we were getting like our lowest views we ever got on our podcast.
I think because our subscriber base is largely men.
Yeah.
And a lot of men don't follow women's rugby.
And men,
when I've been to the games of women's rugby, much of the crowd
by the way,
is women.
men based in South Africa and Ireland, two teams. South Africa were qualified, but Ireland didn't even qualify, did they? And South Africa are they put in some hearty efforts, but they're not one of the top teams
in the women's game. That's right.
Yeah, eat that, Rian. Even your women suck. No, they were actually they were actually really fun to watch.
No, they are. They are one of the.
They all
more
look like
fun teams
Serena
to watch.
Williams, like dominating.
Yeah.
They could be incredible in terms of the game if they get a little bit more professional around it. There's my 2 cents.
There you go.
Yeah.
Women's rugby, Pacific Fours. New Zealand go 3 from 3. Canada 2 from 3. Australia 1 from 3, and the US nada. But a good first half against the Black Ferns.
Well done.
Well done, USA.
Yeah. Very proud of you.
There was also a New Zealand 15 who were in Japan. They beat the Japanese test team this time.
How much of this did you watch?
0
How many-
minutes. It clashed with the Aussie-Argentina game, which just seems like insane timing. But
What about the
I
highlights?
suppose they have to go with what suits the Japanese rather than what suits New Zealand fans because it's being hosted in Japan. I didn't watch any of it. I haven't even seen the highlights. It was hard to get excited about it when I've got. It's the same thing with the women's game.
Yeah.
Like all week, I was thinking All Black Springboks. How fucking excited am I for this game?
Yeah, me too.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
So, yeah, everything else took second place to that.
Yeah, even after you left on Saturday night, I was like, oh shit, I got to watch the Argentinians now. And that was actually a really great game. But you're right, like when it's Boks and All Blacks, it's just like that is king, and everything else just pales in comparison.
Yeah.
You know. And what did we smoked them? Yeah.
41-27.
Yeah. And that's, I heard a couple of reports people saying Japan not looking good, Japan not looking strong. We're talking about a team that made the quarterfinals last year. Well, not last year, last World Cup.
yeah.
Bet the Scots to make it there. Obviously, they were kind of the Cinderella team having the home World
their
Cup.
record since the World Cup against Tier 1 has been really bad.
Yeah. Do you know, just a fun fact, their best ever result at a World Cup is equal to Ireland's best ever result. Just a fun fact.
There's a few teams who have made quarterfinals. Canada has made a quarterfinal.
Are they in 1987?
It was either 97 or 91. 87 or 91. I can't remember.
All right, okay.
Yeah. We played them in a quarterfinal. So I can't remember which World Cup it was. But yeah, Canada has made a quarterfinal.
Canada
Canada, who didn't
men's
qualify for the World Cup.
Canada's men's.
Their women's team's great. Their men's team is not.
Yeah, it's a shame.
They're one of the teams who suffered from the turn of professionalism.
Did they?
Yeah, they had a great amateur culture, but I think professionalism basically killed the game in Canada.
That sucks.
It does. Sorry, Canada. You're very good at ice hockey.
They're amazing.
We call it ice hockey here in New Zealand. They call it
hockey. Yeah.
Two Canadian girls I used to work with in China, when I kept saying ice hockey, they were like,
What are you talking
why are
about?
you always saying ice hockey?
Because when we say
hockey, we mean field hockey. They're like, oh, you mean...
field hockey?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a much smaller sport than ice hockey.
Yeah. You don't get millions of dollars for playing field hockey.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why isn't field hockey a more popular sport?
There could be a multi-factored answer
It's entertaining.
to that. You reckon?
I've watched it at Olympic Games, and I've like, that's quite entertaining.
Like I always find the corners and the behinds and stuff quite, when they have to serve it up, and apparently you have to be a bit of a madman to play.
Really?
Because the ball is
very hard.
It's hard as fuck, and the sticks are wild, and you've just got a bunch of angry people because they're all kind of nuts to play.
Okay.
They're all the hands just always bruised and battered because the ball's either smacking them or they're getting smacked on the hands with the thing, and their shins are.
Sure, that makes for good entertainment.
Yeah, when I watch it, it's one of those it's kind of like watching. Actually, the same problem with ice hockey, to be honest. Ice hockey, those physical hits and stuff, not so much in field hockey. It's more the ball doing the damage, but it's the ball just.
Oh, right.
Following it, and that's a barrier to entry,
right?
If it's not ingrained in your culture, like if you're not a baby sitting in front of the screen watching ice hockey, and then by the time you can follow, because I remember watching a few final series of ice hockey and being like, oh, now I finally can kind of see what's going on. But when I just try and watch it, I'm always like, it's just a bunch of big men roaming around, really. Just another Saturday night.
Under 20s.
The French.
The French and the Irish went
at
it.
Oh my God, how much rugby was on?
The French
they
just
just
got
look
it done
at
pretty comfortably.
Head and shoulders above the rest of the world.
Is this a signal of things to come? Because you got the men's senior teams. It's Ireland and France, number 1 and 2. Under 20s finals, France and Ireland. Because I've looked back at the careers of some guys who were like. He was the under 20s player of the championship.
Yeah.
How did this guy do it? Aaron Cruden was one.
Yeah.
He was the under 20s player of the championship. He had a good career. He
very good career.
Followed through that potential. And I looked at the team.
But he wasn't Dan Carter.
No, he wasn't Dan Carter.
He wasn't even Barrett.
I looked at the under 20s team he played with to win that kind of world player of the under 20s or whatever the hell it was. And I'm like, I don't know that guy. I don't know that guy. I don't know. So few of the guys
actually
came through to become household names.
Because a lot of them just get to NPC level and
then they don't have the chops.
Yeah, we talk about how hard it is for Sean Stevenson to make the cut, even though he's a really good player and all that sort of thing. That kind of decision is replicated at all levels. There are really good players who are really good for their club teams that don't get quite picked up because they don't fit the structure that NPC teams will play. Same for NPC teams to Super Rugby level. Or guys who are really just snapping at the heels around the fringes of a Super Rugby squad that don't quite get the opportunities, and when they do get the opportunities, they might get an injury here and there. There are so many ways to bail out. There are so few
spots.
Those people who just make that really clear, concise, just pathway through, make it look really easy. That's rare, and there's a bit of luck involved, isn't there? So, and also I think that one of the things that you need to be mindful of as well, at probably under 20 level, there's a lot of it that's built on talent, raw, unadulterated talent. But as you probably go deeper into professionalism, you need that talent, but you also need a high degree of professionalism and work ethic, which is definitely something that doesn't come to a lot of young men, and that's what the greatest players have and the greatest professionals have, is not just that ability to be able to do amazing things on the field when they got the opportunity, but to be able to replicate it week after week through dedication and hard work. Did I just make
an answer?
Did I just make a...
My goodness.
I blacked out for a bit there.
Determination is a hard thing to coach.
Yeah. Grit. Yeah, it's one of those things.
Well done, France. See if you guys can replicate it at the World Cup.
Got a good chance.
Now, there is some rugby on this weekend.
Is he really?
Samoa's playing Fiji.
Oh,
Japan's playing Tonga. Scotland's playing Italy. Namibia's playing in Argentina.
Tonga. We missed. You didn't talk about Tonga versus Australia A.
That's true. I actually watched it.
Yeah, I watched a bit of that too.
It was even on YouTube.
It was the weirdest game.
That was so fun.
It was so weird to watch.
Tonga beat an Australian 15 side, which had it had Taniela Tupou.
Yeah.
It had Bernard Foley.
Yeah.
It had, forget the other
bunch of
guys. There was
other-
a bunch of other either almost Wallabies or
previous past
capped Wallabies. Yeah.
Yeah. There was a moment when they scored their first try where Fekitoa did this beautiful floated pass out
Yeah.
to...
The Tongan side had basically all of their
But it was
All Blacks and Wallabies. They had
So there was
Folau playing, they had Piatau playing, they had Fekitoa playing.
This is the thing. Fekitoa does this beautiful floated pass out to Piatau. Piatau takes it in space, and then on his inside, he's got Sparkles McFabulous himself, Israel Folau. And I was just thinking, and they both look good. And I was like, what does the defense do there? And Israel's there, and he's threatening, ready to go. And Fekitoa, and they're holding off on Fekitoa. And Fekitoa's got electric footwork and the highest played rugby player almost ever. And it's just like, I was just like, this is a try.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Like, I've given Israel a lot of shit, but he's quality
good rugby player.
rugby player. And he still looks quality.
Yeah.
But my God almighty, like that's a hell of a little trio of players right there.
Yeah.
Like if these, like, I don't know, I haven't watched these guys week to week. I know that Piatau has obviously had a thriving, wonderful career in the UK, and Israel's had his ups and downs, but he was like the world's best player before he completely shat the bed everywhere. So if these guys are still got it, I wouldn't want to be playing them in a pool game.
They're in a tough pool.
Who are they with?
I think they're in the pool with South Africa.
No shit.
I need to double check. But yeah, I remember their pool's really hard. They're not on the easy side of the draw.
They're on our side of the draw.
I'm pretty sure.
Like our pool, we've just got the French, and we've got like Namibia and someone else, don't we? Or something like that.
Yeah.
So our pool, we've got that one hard game. And
They are. South Africa, Ireland, Scotland, and Tonga. I thought I was right. I had a brief kind of hesitation there. Yeah. Okay. Tonga featuring all these All Blacks and Wallabies.
Okay.
And Romania. Sorry, Romania.
Cut ball on the inside. Fekitoa to Charles Piatau with Israel Folau coming in on a dagger of a line from the outside in. Does Manu Liebok tackle those men?
Oh yeah, he will. He's been playing on the URC.
All right, okay.
There's some big units there.
They'll get a try. They will get tries.
I've been a little bit. What can I say? Like when they changed the eligibility laws, the main beneficiaries of those laws.
You do this a lot when you feel like you're about to make a point that you're not comfortable with.
Well, I looked at those law changes, which were clearly, I think, designed to benefit Samoa and Tonga.
Okay, I feel you now. I got hands on the side of my face for a
And I
long
was
period
a
of
little
time.
bit like, is this the right answer to get these teams better? Like to get guys like Charles Piatau, who's born in New Zealand, raised in New Zealand, played for the All Blacks, like to get him playing for Tonga once he's kind of past his prime for the All Blacks as kind of a secondary option for Tonga. Is that great for the game? Like in my mind, I'm like, no, the way you get the Tongan team better is to invest in the game in Tonga and get guys coming, like the Samoan team at the last World Cup was like 90% guys born in New Zealand and Australia, which makes sense because we've got the infrastructure here to set up, guys to get those careers going better. But far out, that Tongan team was full of some talent. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, 100%.
So I was that's what I mean. I'm torn. Like I want to see more guys coming from Tonga playing for Tonga.
Gotcha.
But Jeez, that was fun to watch. And the Tongan commentator, God, he was awesome
awful
to listen to.
He was awful. He was so bad.
fun.
He was great.
Yeah.
Can I counter your point though?
Okay.
Well, I do want to talk about that commentator if we
Yes.
can. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely brilliant for the game because one of the key things in terms of getting a game to be stronger in any country is getting young talent to come in. What gets young talent to come on board? What gets young talent to put posters on the wall? Seeing their heroes playing well and punching above their weight, doing well for the nation, representing their colours. And even those guys have grown up in New Zealand and Australia, whatever. I'd say they're still proud Tongan people. Like they've got Tongan parents, they've got Tongan heritage, they've got strong links to their communities and their villages and all that sort of stuff. And I think in terms of just the overall growth of the game itself internationally, having more competitive, strong teams with high levels of talent is great. And, and also if you've got those incredible starring players coming up through the islands, they're going to be like, well, I could, go on this pathway and play in Europe and all that sort of thing. But you know what? There is a real pathway to join a world-class team in my little island, and these are little islands we're talking about, like Samoa and Tonga are not big islands.
A couple 100,000 people.
There's 1 million people in Fiji, which is, bustling metropolitan in comparison. So I think it is a great thing. Obviously, it'd be amazing if they were able to have that infrastructure in there, that they were able to have competitive leagues and all that sort of stuff. Just their mere size being that small, it's just not possible. So you do have to sort of engineer it in a way that's going to build it up because the talent is still of that, that origin, So I disagree. I feel good about it. There you go. How was that?
Not bad.
Yeah. All right. Can we talk about that commentator now?
Go on.
So
we talked a little about him on the live stream.
He was so weird.
It was great.
He just sounded like someone's uncle who's been like, hey, Tim, can you grab the mic? It's like, it's great to be here today. Big occasion. I don't want to be. Doing accents is a dodgy place to do it. He didn't have a super thick Tongan accent, but there was this incredible try that they scored where they went down one wing. Like I don't know if it was Piatau did a kick ahead. Like the Australians looked like they had it covered. It took this rank ass bounce straight into the hands of a Tongan player. He puts it down, and there was a bunch of beautiful lead up play to it. And it was
a great try.
It was an incredible try, and one try that usually you would imagine
commentators losing their mind over.
And he just went, Tonga scores. It was literally like
he was commentating in a second language.
Yeah, no, true. I get that, but it was just so weird to look, Tonga scores.
Yeah, it was so anticlimactic.
Tonga scores again. And then it was amazing.
I loved it.
But it was just like really, it made me more fond of him.
Yeah. And his Aussie co-commentator was like quite partisan, like, I'm supporting, we need to do this, we need to do that.
And like, he obviously is not a bloke who does it all the time, but he was like...
I quite enjoyed it. It'd be like putting us on the commentary team. It'd just be a disaster, probably. But it was great. I loved it.
Yeah, and it's great to see it in the Kingdom of Tonga. They went up.
Oh yeah, they haven't played there since 2017.
Wow, and they had to go up and go and like that kind of felt like a real callback to the old days. It felt like watching it, just like the quality of the cameras, quality of the graphics.
Yeah,
the commentators were like from another. It was
century. A different era. It was going back in time. It was great. I loved it though.
I just love the way they had to like go up into the stands, go see the Tongan Tongan prince in his seat, and shake his hand in his seat. Like it was kind of cool. Like
good stuff.
It was a fun watch.
Well done, Tonga. You got to win.
Yeah, great one.
Bad week for Australia.
Yeah, and there was no.
Their women's team lost. Their 15 side lost. Their senior team lost.
They just lost the third test in the Ashes. That was maybe a week ago now.
Sorry, Australia.
Yeah.
Mark Nawani-Tawasi, though. How about that guy?
He's really good.
He looks the business. Really good.
All right, mate. I think we've covered a lot of rugby. We've covered a lot of other stuff.
Now, if you people aren't interested in watching the likes of Japan and Tonga, Scotland, Italy play this weekend, you know what you can do in the meantime.
You can go watch a few episodes of... 2 Cents on Tour. You thought I was going to say something?
I've got an episode coming out this Thursday.
So it won't be there because this will be out before then, but
check out the channel.
Check out the channel, and I might put, if you're watching this after Thursday, I'll tell you what, I'll put a link in the description.
There you go.
Okay, the link will be in the description if you're watching it after Thursday.
There's some Soviet graves.
Wow.
Soviet. Yeah.
Right, they're the Ruskies.
They're old Ruskies. They've got some martyrs who are buried in Wuhan. I went to check those guys out.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
What were the Ruskies doing? Oh,
You have to watch the video to find out. But yeah, the
But
channel.
tell me more. What happened?
That channel is almost at 1,000 subs, which I greatly appreciate. The watch time, though, is still way lagging behind YouTube's requirements. So if you would, please do me the biggest of solids.
And watch the whole damn thing.
Just watch a video. Just watch it through. I would greatly appreciate it. If it's crap, just turn it off. I won't blame you, but I think it's all right.
Yeah, I enjoy them, man. They're good.
Yeah.
If you want to watch a white guy bitch about puddles, you can watch this video here.
Yeah.
If you want to watch a white guy be irritated at museums, there's a video here. And if you want to watch a white guy get offered sex by a 70-year-old Chinese woman, there's a video here.
In the latest one, I go to this park and this guy's like
That's
practicing.
a lot of.
There's a lot of cards.
That's
You're
a lot
a
of-
champion if you put those up. There's a guy with like a spear practicing kung fu, and he's like, "Come on, I'll teach you." And I'm like, no,
Did you
it's
do
all right.
it?
Nah, I didn't.
Oh, what?
I know.
You need to do that. I'm disappointed in you. Well, I'm not disappointed in you though for
sticking all this way
sticking
through.
all the
Thank
way
you,
through.
team. We appreciate it.
Oh, I should have talked to you.
What's
about
your
this
next video coming up? Putting the pressure on.
I was hoping to have a video out about this time next week. Mm-hmm. But I'm very far away from doing that. But I was hoping to. That was in my head. I was like, yeah.
Right.
But I'm writing one.
Okay.
It's about South Africa.
It's a big process.
And also I'm slag. Well, I have a job and things, you know.
Job. And a
Day
child.
child, you know.
Partner.
Life.
Masturbation.
Yeah, that takes up 80% of my time. It takes me ages to come. On that note, Paramatta. All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Take care,
haere
folks.